To our City Council special meeting regarding our budget workshop. It is 7:12 p.m. Could we please get roll call?
Roll call. Councilmember Soto?
Present.
Councilmember Moran?
Present.
Councilmember King?
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Garcia?
Present.
Mayor Aguilar?
Present.
For the record, council members, Mayor Pro Tem and the mayor are in attendance.
Could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
You could please remain standing for a moment of silence for our military and first responders to give y'all for a second. Thank you.
Council, any changes to the agenda? I don't see any. We're going to move on to citizen comments. At a special meeting, members of the public wishing to address the council for any matter on the agenda may do so at this time. No, under the provisions of the California Government Code, the City Council is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any items not on the agenda. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Colette Alvarez, P.O. Box 255, Livingston, California. Money is always an interesting topic, isn't it? The Bible talks about money the second most. And so let us go before him and ask him for his wisdom. Dear Heavenly Father, you own the cattle on 1,000 hills. There's many decisions before the City Council on how to spend the money and where to put it and where the greatest need is. There's wants and there's needs. Help us to, Lord, use money. The city doesn't create money. The city has money from its residents, its citizens, and the people that shop here. Help this City Council to be wise in spending. Help them to make every penny count. Help them to make the money go as far as possible. And help them to realize where the money actually comes from and how people have sacrificed. And it's not an easy decision. What are you going to fund? Where should the funding go? There are so many needs. Dear Lord, please give them clarity of mind and ideas and speak to their hearts. I ask that you would pour wisdom into each one, just from the top of their heads, through their mouth to their fingertips as they're making their decisions. Just Holy Spirit, please come and pour your wisdom in them and guide and direct their hearts so your knowledge will abound in them and that the future needs of this city will be taken care of for next year. In the name of Jesus, we pray, amen.
Amen.
Now, my personal comment is this. Randy Thomason from SaveCalifornia.com made a comment that has stuck with me. Usually when people talk to you, it just passes through your head. But this one he made, and he said, when the government, the City Council is a governing body, when the government takes my money and gives it to somebody else, it's a legalized theft. Now, recently, today, I hurried down from the hill, the mountain, because I was up helping my mom up in the Sonora area. She lives there, and she's a widow. And we went to a rancher's Tractor Supply, and there was something on it for donations for neutering and spaying. And somebody recently told me that one of the things people think would be nice is to neuter and spay pets. And I got to thinking that, and I thought, well, that's great, but why should one resident or 10 residents pay to neuter and spay someone else's pet? It's their animal, they got the animal, it's their responsibility. Now, up in Sonora, they were asking for donations to help pay for it, and that you can willingly give. But when the governing body takes our money as citizens, and when you pay your federal taxes, your state taxes, they're taking your money also, and they give it to somebody else without, that has a different feel for it. Now, there are some needs we need. We need roads, we need water, we need safety, we need fire, we need law enforcement. Those are important things. And so my heart goes out to you guys tonight because there's difficult decisions. And I hope God's wisdom is with you, and I hope every decision you make is the right decision tonight. It is my prayer for you. I have been gone all day helping my mom, and I need to get home to my special needs child, so thank you for listening to me. I'm going to bow out now, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other citizen comment? I don't hear any, so we're going to move on to our budget workshop, a proposed budget for fiscal year 2021-2022.
Well, just a quick opening statement, Council. As you know, we had our first workshop. This is the second workshop. There'll be an opportunity for, of course, the public and the council to provide input and make recommendations or make modifications at the next meeting that we're looking at adopting our budget. And then there was some requests, and based on those requests, we went ahead and did some research, and we're going to be able to provide some of that information, or provide that information this evening. So with that, our finance director will begin her proposed budget presentation on behalf of the city manager's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and residents here present and listening to us. It is our second budget workshop, and just as City Manager stated, we went through a detailed review of the general fund, enterprise funds during the workshop number 1. Today in this workshop, we will just do a quick highlight of the state of our general fund, and we will go over some of the requests that were brought up to us, staff members, to research and put together and bring forward for budget consideration. As previously shared, our preliminary budget, it is available on our website. You can find it on our at cityoflivingston.org, and you can browse and have a copy and review the budget in depth through the website. Also, as of this evening, both of the budget workshops presentations are also uploaded on the website. So for the public or the residents that are not able to make it to these workshops, they can have access to what we have reviewed tonight. Really quick, the budget process, as I had shared in our first workshop, it is a 6-month project. We start in January with expenditure projections as far as personnel items and any contracted services, maintenance and operations, any items that we know about that we're going to need to contract or to incur an expense in order to run the city. Right around the March turnaround, we start receiving revenue projections from our property tax, our sales tax, and some of the budget projections from our governor's office. They start coming in during that time. We try to put all of this together to come with a budget draft book for our city manager to review, to present to our city council. And within the May timeframe, we start conducting our budget workshops. We did our first workshop on May 19. This is our second one, and we are on target to have a proposed budget adopted by City Council by the end of June. So when our new fiscal year, July 1st, comes, we will have a guiding budget framework that will let us know what we are authorized to incur expenses and so forth. Also, as shared during our previous workshop, some of the budget assumptions that we have used in order to put this budget workbook for you to review is in terms of revenue, we have taken into account any available estimates that we have received, such as property and sales taxes. We have removed any one-time funding, and then any known grants, we have accounted for those items in here. On the other hand, on the expense side, we have applied any known changes in personnel, such as any pension benefits, any health insurance increases, workers' compensation increases, and also we have taken into account any major events that will more than likely have an impact in our budget. One of those major events for fiscal year 21-22 are some key retirements in different departments. We have also, within the maintenance and operations side, we have applied any known cost changes, such as if our utility cost is trending higher, we have adjusted that for actual expenses, for what we're actually spending, and any known expenditures on our contracted services. On anything else, we have applied a 2% growth. On our projects, we have removed one-time projects that have been completed and added any new projects that departments have identified. And on our debt service, we have included the debt service payments that are based on the schedules. Also, during our last budget workshop, we had a slide which talked about officers per 1,000 residents for our police department, and we wanted to present a revised chart for the city. With the help of our police chief, we were able to update the numbers, and what you're seeing here for city population, it is the updated population as of January 1st, 2021. A count of what the 2020-2021 officers in the fiscal year were accounted for each one of these cities within our county, and we included Chowchilla since it is one of the cities that it's very comparable as far as population with Livingston as well. And then you can see the ratio. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. You can see the ratio within this cities. Anything over 1, it is a ratio of police officers of over covering. It is good. I mean, it is a ratio that, for example, for Atwater, 24 officers and 31,000 residents, they have a ratio of 1.33. That means that per 1.33 officers are available per 1,000 residents. We have a resolution as adopted in 2005 that the City Council recommended to have a coverage of 1.5 officers per 1,000 residents, and we have added that column at the end to show that we currently have 16 officers on patrol on the road, and in order for us to meet the criteria that City Council established back in 2005, we would need to be at 23 officers.
Yeah, but I have a question. Does that include the SROs, or is there Officer 16 on patrol? So you have 16 officers? Okay.
16,
I will, Chief? That's patrol. Yes.
Does it include the SROs also? Oh, just you? So with our SROs, we should have 17, right? Or 18? 17 now. Okay.
Okay.
It's currently 17. The goal is to make it 18 because we're working with the other school district to fill in that second SRO.
Just a quick question for the chief, and just for people out in the community so that they can understand, what is the difference when you refer to 16 patrol?
Well, if you look at the graph, actually, 16, that's officers, okay? Patrol-wise, that's obviously going to be a lot less difference. They're detectives. But when they talk about officers sworn, that's what that number's for. Is that what we've always gone by, how we calculate this data? That's what we've done in the past, and that's how we've always done it. The SROs obviously are funded through other sources. They're normally not counted in here because they're dedicated to the schools because the schools pay for them. So they're not counted because they're not on patrol. So they're usually, and we have not in the past, counted them in this data. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chief. Moving on into our general fund overview, we share that for fiscal year 21-22, the city is expecting to receive $6.8 million in revenue, and our expenses account for $6.8 million as well. If we compare the revenue that we're expecting to receive against expenses, we are projecting a $2,000 surplus. This is another chart that we had shared, in which we can see that our current projected fund balance of $3,068,000 with a $2,000 projected surplus, it would be $3,070,000 at the end of fiscal year 21-22. Also, I wanted to highlight that our fund balance reserves at the level that we are at right now, we cover about 45% of the operating expenses, which that would mean about 5 months of regular operating expenses in the general fund. During our last meeting, we had some budget requests that we have taken back to our offices and put some numbers together for council. This budget requests were to look into traffic calming measures. Some of these measures would be anything from like speed bumps and signs and so forth in high traffic areas. Council requested that staff will come up with a dollar amount to start this program, so we will show that in our next slide. It was also requested for staff to research the cost of a K-9 unit. We will have that coming up in the next slide. We also had a request for the improvements on Dwight and Walnut, and a spay and neuter program, and legal services for the county fire mediation, which is part of the property tax. The property tax issue that we have going on. It's part of some of the items that we talked about, the property, the revenue sharing agreement with the county, but at the same time, this is one item that we feel that it should also be treated separately. So we will be treating that item separately. So we have put together this budget request chart just so we can illustrate to council some of the items that we are proposing or recommending. As far as the traffic calming measures, we are recommending that we amend the budget with a $60,000 allocation so we can start this program. And we have found that this traffic calming measures, it is something that, it is a program that is, it could be paid through Measure V. So the fact that we were able to find it an additional revenue source other than the general fund, it will not have any impact into the $2,000 surplus or the expenses that we have, the $6.8 million expense that we have. On the other hand, the improvements that were requested for Dwight and Walnut, we are estimating these improvements to be somewhere around the $70,000, and this is something that will be paid out of the fire station fund, so it won't have a general fund impact as well.
Yeah, just real quick we have new estimated, and this is something that just came in, so Anthony's going to talk about it. That's kind of the estimate that we had, but we have better figure now, so go ahead.
Yeah, we're still working on the quotes council for that improvement at Dwight and Walnut for the fencing. But right now it's looking at about $89 a foot for the custom fencing, the wrought iron fencing. And it's about 1,000 linear feet. So that comes out to about 89,000 for just that wrought iron fencing. But that's just one quote. We still got 4 more we're working on. I'm also gonna ask for chain link cyclone fencing as well to see how much that'll cost as well. But that number is probably gonna, if council does want to move forward with the wrought iron fencing, we're probably looking more about 115 instead of 70,000.
Plus, if we do any concrete work, if we get any C-trains out there, the good thing is this is funding that can be absorbed within the fire fund, so it doesn't impact our general fund. And so, so that number would need to be revised to incorporate those other items.
And we'll also have substantial savings on the concrete pad too by using our weekend crew to pour that concrete.
Mm-hmm. And the Butler building. So we'll come up with a better figure since we still have at least a couple more weeks. So that number will be different.
Is this fencing around the grass area?
This is the if you go to Max Foster on the corner of Dwight and Walnut, there is a vacant, or they say just a dirt lot, and then there's kind of like a road that. Okay, so basically that whole corner.
Where the cars are raised at, usually.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, that was an item that was requested by our mayor for us to look at, and so to make it a public safety. Well, first of all, that property is designated into perpetuity for public safety, and so rather than leaving it like it is in its current state, that public safety, police, and fire can use that, for trainings and other things of the nature, and so the request was for us to look at what it would cost to fence it, to do at least a 5,000 square foot concrete pad with a small Butler building and a couple of C-trains to store stuff. So that's what we're doing.
It was just a discussion. I mean, obviously that's a lot of money and stuff like that. So it was just kind of I know we had, like I mentioned before, some challenges with space and all of that stuff. So just brainstorming ideas of what could alleviate that. So But ultimately, whatever staff thinks is appropriate or not, or just hold on and continue saving money for a new station for the future. Obviously, discuss it with fire department and ultimately with the council. But not just brainstorming, this is just one of many brainstorming ideas in regards to alleviating some of the issues there.
Yeah, so again, this budget workshop is a great opportunity to, if you guys have ideas and stuff, just, and ultimately as a group, you guys decide and then give us, direction. So none of this is in stone, it's just, but it's a good platform for you guys to talk about different things.
But thank you for looking into it. It's just good to know how much something like that would cost. But like I've stated before, we have to be good stewards of our money and be creative with the challenges we have.
Okay. The next request, it was about, it was on the K-9 unit, and we have put together some figures, which we have itemized on the side. What we have researched and what we came up with is that the initial purchase of the K-9 unit itself, it will be about $23,000. There is an annual maintenance of about $11,000. This is any vet visits, shots, any item, medication, and then food as well. There is personnel costs that it is tied to having this unit come into our police force. It's about $15,600, and this is about having monthly trainings and having a differential. There is an MOU pay for already agreed on and approved pay for the officer that is selected to handle the K-9 unit. So it is going to be about $15,600 a year. So overall, for the first year, having or incorporating a K-9 unit into our police force, it would be about $50,000. And we would be looking at $26,700 for ongoing cost into the future if we decide to add this unit into our police force. Also, we did a little bit of research on insurance cost, and we found out that our insurance covers us as far as the city and our police unit to have a K-9 unit within the police department. However, if there is any claims, the city is responsible for the first $25,000 of such claim, and then the insurance company will take care of the rest. This is something that it is a general fund expense. So we would be looking at a $50,100 general fund impact. The next item that we are showing, it is the spay and neuter program. And for those, we had talked about it on a $5,000 start of the program, or like a pilot of the program, just to see, and we're treating it as a one-time, 1 year, to see how the program does. And this is definitely a general fund program, and it would have a fiscal impact of $5,000 into our general fund. And the same would go for the legal services for the county fire mediation. We are estimating that legal cost for a mediator would be about somewhere in the $15,000 neighborhood, and it would also be a contract service that will have an impact. It will be paid out of the general fund, and it would have an impact to the general fund. The next item that you see at the last item that you see at the bottom of this chart, since we are looking at the spay and neuter program and the legal services as a one-time items, we wanted to bring up that there is a line item in the budget for the centennial celebration coming up in 2022. We budgeted $30,000. It's included right now in this book, and we're proposing that we can, since this centennial celebration it is also a one-time expense, that we can. It's somewhat a discretionary expense, so we can reduce those, reduce from that line item $20,000 and be able to reallocate it into the other one-time items, such as the spay and neuter program and the legal services for county fire. That will leave those two requests at a net, at a zero impact to our general fund. And we would be looking at a $50,000 impact in total for added to the expense side. So as I had mentioned, we were at 6.8 million. We would be adding $50,000, and that would put us into tapping into our reserves a little bit.
Can you guys elaborate a little bit regarding the legal services for county fire mediation?
Absolutely. So, Mayor and Council, so we've been negotiating for several years with the county as it relates to our tax sharing agreement. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to come to a happy medium. They went ahead and passed, their own MOU without the city's acceptance. And so at this point, our mayor and the committee, ad hoc committee that has been put forward, has been trying to get, meetings with the county, and it's gone on for months. So at this point, the ad hoc committee and myself are recommending that we look at going into mediation, so that way we can get the county to, come to the table, and because at this point, there's really nothing more. So our recommendation is to mediate this and have the county, pay a portion of the mediation. We will, of course, don't know what they're going to say, but bottom line, that's what we're trying to do. The tax sharing agreement is of utmost importance. We just finished our general plan workshop. The general plan, all the annexations, everything that we want to do moving forward, economic development, extending our spheres, we can't do nothing unless we're able to annex. So the county continues to receive their money, but we don't, because we're stuck. And it's too many years. The city's been without a tax sharing agreement since 2010. I got here in 2011. And so that's been the situation. And so unless the council has any other suggestions, that staff's recommendation is to mediate the tax sharing agreement so that we can have one in place immediately.
But why is it called county fire mediation? Wouldn't it be a county tax revenue mediation?
If I may add,
Yeah.
I just pulled up the chart that we presented during our previous workshop, and this is what we're talking about. The property tax, out of the property tax dollars, the one item here in the blue box, it's the county fire. It is dollars that are collected from our property tax, from our residents paying property taxes, that are allocated, and it's supposed to pay for fire services. And in any other event, it would come to the city, but because we have fire services contracted through the county, it goes directly to the county. And so we can see the history in the chart that, from 10 years of collections, we've gone from $437,000 to almost $900,000. So what we're trying to have is legal services to help us
So let me
allocate
elaborate.
some of this dollars back to the city.
Yeah, so elaborate a little bit further. When we talk about the tax sharing agreement, of course, the county wants to put everything in there. The fire fund and, what they currently get through annexations, property tax, sales tax. So all of that together is something that we have to tackle, and we as a city want to separate some of those. We want to have, the fire portion to be separate, and that's what she just outlined out there. And of course, the sales tax and the property tax.
Go back to the chart that I had today.
Can you share the slide that shows the graphs? Yeah, that one. So council, on this one, this is the same graph. You guys have seen it many, many times before. And that's the reason, and we can't accept, we can't accept that. That'll have a direct impact unfortunately, it's for forever, because there's different components to the tax sharing agreement. And one of them is giving up our leverage that we currently have with the department, or DOE, or franchise tax boards, however you want to call it. And so if we let go of that leverage, and the money goes to them, and then it gets into the county, we don't have no leverage. That's to me like the biggest thing. But then set that aside, now it's the money part. And those graphs in red, so in essence, we get a little bit of money, these next 2 years, and then after that, when everything kicks in that they're proposing, the green never catches up or surpasses the red. And that's how it goes.
Can you go more into detail, like if it was the first time that you're presenting this slide? Because there's gonna be residents out in the community that don't know what we're talking about and don't know what this graph means.
Absolutely. We came up with this graph here. During our last workshop, we had shared this really quick table of what the tax sharing agreement proposal between the county and what the city was requesting had some of the key points. Within this revenue tax sharing agreement, that it's one of the key items that we would like to get resolved within the next fiscal year. It talks about that the county will, in order for the city to be able to annex more property and be able to experience some growth, we are going to give up 100% of the base and any increments of the fire fund. So the fire fund, it is the 19 cents, the 19 cents that we see here. And it is one of the items that we want to separate and say, let's look at the fire fund separately, because this 19 cents within the past 10 years, it's almost doubled. And we feel that it will definitely alleviate some of the issues that the city experiences within our fire department. It will definitely, even if we don't get it the full 19 cents, anything that we get more than we're getting zero right now, it will alleviate some of our fire department needs.
So just to elaborate a little bit further, what was negotiated in the past was something like 60-40, okay? Of all the money collected every year, so much was allocated to the county, so much was allocated to the city. Right now, the city is receiving zero. So we're not getting any of that money. So in essence, we're subsidizing the other departments within the county with our money. Oh, and by the way, this information was information that was requested by the county, by myself, wasn't provided. So then we hired, I hired a consultant to help me dig, and that's how I went all the way back to 2009 and got all those figures.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, so those are the items that in essence, it would cover the legal services for county fire, the $15,000 that we're projecting. It would help us mediate some of the talks with the county for those 19 cents. And that is the end of our presentation. We can take any questions as far as our requests or anything that you may like.
So again, council, this is, you can choose to modify this any way, shape, or form. We just provided you with, some possible scenarios, but, you guys get to decide how you would like to proceed in each one of these line items.
Ms. Portillo, towards the end of this slide, a little bit earlier, and I didn't catch everything, but you said with this, we would have to tap into the reserves. Was that right, or?
Yes, I mean, if we see the column of the general fund impact, we have identified, wherever possible, we have identified any potential funding sources outside of the general fund. So we have done that for the traffic calming measures. We have done that for the improvements on Dwight and Walnut. We are proposing that we reduce the line item that we had for the centennial celebration, since it's a one-time cost, one-time expense.
Let me chime in on that one. Okay, the centennial celebration for the community and for the council, I'm sure it's of much importance. We would, this is a one-time thing. We're celebrating 100 years. So if we reduce that budget, then we either try to raise it somehow, through the community, or leave it alone. So this is just a scenario, but you guys decide if you want to reduce the budget that has been presented already for the centennial celebration. If you don't touch that, then all of the requests, with the exception of that $2,000 surplus that we have, would all impact the general fund. So what staff is showing here is that the centennial, the 20,000 basically will address the spay neuter and this legal services, and the canine unit is the 5,100 that would jump into or it could flip. The 20 can be used for the canine unit. That would still be 30 plus 5 plus 15 will still be the same amount.
Absolutely. What we were trying to do is propose something that, the centennial celebration, it's a one-time expense that will also offset a one-time expense of the spay and neuter and the legal services. We didn't recommend to offset the canine unit just because it's an ongoing expense. So this is something that we will have to budget beyond the 2021-22 fiscal years.
Go ahead.
Okay, and then also, let's see, going back to the canine unit. So the 50,100, that's the first, just to start the program.
That is correct, because in
And-
the first year, we have to purchase the canine officer, the dog.
Yes. Okay. And then the 26,700 would be ongoing. That includes the annual maintenance, the personnel cost, the insurance cost, right?
The insurance, it's already covered, so we
Okay.
already pay for it, and it's already part of our budget. We're just giving a caution to council that in the event of a claim, the city is liable for the first $25,000 of that claim.
Okay. And then so that would continue to, if this is considered ongoing, it would have to come out, be funded by the general fund and not by the police department budget?
Well, the general fund pays for the police department budget. It pays for our elected officials, administration, police department, and public works.
Okay, thank you.
For me, in regards to the improvements of the coroner and the county fire mediation, I'm not gonna express my thoughts on that specifically or give any direction, and I'll be recusing myself in regards to that because obviously I'm a volunteer firefighter and also associated with the county fire. So it's an abundance of caution. I will not participate or give direction specific to those two items.
And tonight it's a workshop, so we are showing you the research that we have conducted and some of the funding sources that we have identified for each one of these items that were requested. During the next meeting that we will hold, council will have the option to adopt the budget as presented or adopt it with, option, adding calming measures, adding the improvements, or not adding anything at all. So that would be something that you will be deciding in the next budget meeting.
Can I take the floor? I take
Yeah.
about the
Yeah, question.
K-9 unit? So, or Mr. Moreno, are you done? So on the K-9 unit, it may seem a lot here on paper, $50,000 for their first time, and then $26,700 for ongoing. However, we're the only city in Merced County that doesn't have a K-9 unit. Custine just recently got their K-9 unit. The sheriff's department, I think, has 6 or 7 now. Merced PD has there, Los Banos, Atwater, and I mean, we don't have one. So if you think about it, I mean, everything that's happening today with shootings here in the city, we want to try to solve those as soon as possible. Having a K-9 unit, let's say the suspect, to track them down or whatnot, it could be successful. It could be in our own backyard, and I think we owe that to the citizens of Livingston so they can live, with no worries, especially when all this is going on right now. And like the new chief said, he wants to tackle the gang issue, and having a K-9 unit, I think it's gonna, I should say I know it will help. So we could also, train with other departments, and that would probably cut the cost down on the annual maintenance part. And because I was a former K-9 handler before my dog retired last year, so I think we need is very important.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Any comments from the public?
I have a question.
Go ahead, on the phone.
Yes, Director Assad. Couple of questions. I know they showed that chart for comparing cities and PD, the police department. I'm curious, what was the if there was an increase in personnel, the number of personnel from the 2019-2020 budget to the 2020-2021 budget to the 21-22 budget in terms of what's been the change in terms of new personnel for the police department. Number two, I'm also curious about that fund with the revenue sharing agreement and a lot of that money going to fire services. How much does that total posted in terms of that chart that you're talking about from 2009 to now? I forget how many years that's been, but how much money has the city lost out because it's going direct to the county for their departmental operational service? And I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Sir, can you please just identify yourself, please?
Yeah, Gabriel Salazar. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Did you get that question?
I have the changes in personnel between 2019 and 2020, and 2020, 2021 in the police department, and then the changes between 2021 to 2021, 22. That was the first question? I'll have to do some quick calculations here, but I didn't get the second question just yet.
Gabriel, you want to ask your second question real quick, please, again?
Yeah, second question again was about the fire fund that goes to the county. How much money have lost out on because that money has gone direct to the county for their operational service.
In regards to us getting any money of that, we get no money. The fire fund goes all of it towards the county. You want to go ahead and do your comment?
I would have to just
do your
a quick-
calculations.
calculation.
I'll help you.
Good evening, Council. So I just have a couple thoughts on a couple of the items, in particular the K-9 unit and the spay and neuter program. I'm a huge animal lover, so I'm not picking on animals tonight. But especially with the K-9 unit and the spay and neuter program, Mayor Pro Tem Garcia was mentioning that we could look into options as far as training with other departments to lower costs in the future, which really kind of indicates to me that we could do some more research on that item before we make any decisions to dig into our reserves, almost $50,000 for just one calendar or fiscal year. And in addition, the spay and neuter program, I think that allocating $5,000 for a pilot program could be seen as a little bit fiscally irresponsible, especially with the spay and neuter programs that there are grants available for that type of thing that are available through the state. There are grants that the county receives that are dispersed throughout the county that I'm aware of. So I think that we could do a little bit more research on those two topics to find other funding source. I don't think it's fiscally responsible to dig into the general fund at this time for those items without doing more research. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'll try to get some better numbers. Me and Vanessa will get together and I'll do all that, the research for you.
Thank you. Vanessa's currently on her calculator right now.
Well, just really quick, when we turn into the public safety budget summaries, if we compare the actuals between 18-19 and actuals between 19-20 budget, in salaries only, we can see that there was, it was around 4% increase just in salaries. Once we look into the budget for 2020, 2021, the number, it's showing us a reduction. And the reason why it's showing us a reduction is because we froze two positions in the, we froze a captain position and we froze a dispatch position in last year's budget. So if I were to do that calculation between the budget, it wouldn't give you a comparable dollar amount just in terms of salaries right now. And right now, if we're comparing the increase between 2020-21 and 21-22, it's now showing a $200,000 increase, and it also it's because we are including funding for one dispatcher and one police officer. However, if we do look at the actuals between 18-19 and 19-20, that was about 4% increase in salaries in the police department.
So, which would, into actual dollars, would be more or less, what would be the 4% calculated to in actual dollars?
It's $600,000.
And that was for years 2018 to 19?
18-19 compared to actuals of 19-20. Right now, we don't have actuals for 2021 because we're still in the tail end of the year, almost done.
Thank you.
Any other comments, council? Public comment? No, we're good. On the phone, anybody? All right, so if we don't have any more questions or comments, Vanessa, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
I appreciate it as always. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and adjourn our budget workshop at 8:09 p.m.
Thank you.